people. All right, we got 14. We had like 43 registered, so we'll give it a couple seconds. Nice to see everybody. If you've got some questions about this, shoot them in the chat and I will look over them tomorrow later this after this. After I show you what I've got, we'll go over the questions. You can either type those questions in or you can raise your hand. Speak on the mic, don't have to be shy. So today we are talking about the alternatives, the gaps, the things that you can sell that aren't just the health insurance, because health insurance is often what our clients think they want, and sometimes they think they need, and sometimes it's not a good fit. And sometimes you need to sell the health and sell this gap, right? My mother always uses that for Medicare. She'd say Medicare gap, and then we fill the gap, right? We're doing the same thing. We're filling in that gap of what the employees need coverage. And one of the best things about group insurance is that employees want this. They're looking for it. They are looking for it from their employer to offer dental and vision and short-term disability and life insurance. And they're looking for this. Unlike individuals, sometimes they don't even know this exists. And sometimes you feel like you're pushing a product. You don't have to do that with group. You are going to give the employer the ability to offer these things to their employees to help them retain employees, to show that their employees are worth something. And you're giving them something they cannot get on their own, less expensive, right? A dental plan by itself that a person just buys will be more expensive than the dental they can get through their group. Or if it's not less expensive, I'm not talking like the, $28 dental that covers cleanings only. I'm talking about, major dental that will cover the major stuff within a year. It's going to be cheaper through a group. It's less expensive. I've quoted Delta Dental and Emeritus and some other ones. And Emeritus, which is a very inexpensive dental plan for individuals, it's always cheaper with a group. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of the alternatives to think of. In the insurance world, they're voluntary benefits. So a voluntary benefit means the employee can take it or not take it. They can choose to. As the employer, you can choose to pay for some of it, choose to pay for none of it, pay for all of it. So there's a lot of flexibility with it. This is one of those things when somebody's like, I don't know, as an employer, I don't have any, we don't have a lot of money. We can't afford to offer things. Well, they don't have to pay for anything and they can offer all of these things. So we're going to talk about some of my favorites. This is not every option out there. There's a ton of them. If you've got one you want to think about, let me know. Pet insurance, I don't even mention that on here. There's stuff out there, but these are some of my favorite. All right, so alternative options for gap insurance. Well, if it would move forward, there we go. So here's some of them. So accident coverage, gap coverage, I'm talking about a specific one through Philadelphia American Life, critical illness insurance, cancer policies, life insurance with living benefits. You can also do term life and whole life, hospital indemnity plans, prescription plans, and telehealth. These are all things that you can offer to the employer that will either complement their health insurance, or maybe it doesn't make sense for them to have health insurance. Maybe it's a landscaping company and they don't really pay their people so much that it's cheaper if they go on the marketplace, right? So I want to give you something that's affordable for your employees. Here you go, that when they go get their own insurance through the marketplace, no problem. This will help pay for those gaps. So accident coverage, one of my favorites, very inexpensive. It's going to help pay for the air and ground ambulance. It pays cash per injury. There's often accidental death benefits built into it. Guarantee renewable. Once they have it, they can just keep it. Pays in addition to other insurance policies. So it's usually does not coordinate. It's usually we're going to pay $100 for this. We're going to pay $2,000 for broken arm. It doesn't look to see what the insurance is charging. They just get the $2,000, whatever it is. It pays a fixed amount often when they're admitted to the hospital. Like, oh, you went to the hospital, here's some money. Deductible coverage. It's helping pay when the health plan has a high deductible. HSA plans are typically high deductible, and they're less expensive. So they're becoming extremely popular in group policies because they're affordable. You know, when you're an employer, especially when you're new at this, and you're like, well, it's $100 more to give people a copay, or I could give them an HSA. Often they pick the HSA. Well, that means a high deductible, and it pays the doctor bills. So accident coverage is cheap. Often they will have, there's a surety, there's Colonial Life, there's Aflac, there's Life Secure, like every insurance company that sells ancillary just about has accident. Manhattan Life has accident, Philadelphia American Life, they all have accident, and they're all like $32 a person or less. I've got one, I think they're paying $28, right? That's pretty cheap. That's very affordable. And then it gives them some money to go get their annual. All right, a surety gives them two $50 checks throughout the year if they go get their annual, and then there's a couple other things. So then it almost pays the cost of the plan, and it's very inexpensive. I offer this every time I send a group a quote. I put accident on there. Then there's gap coverage. So gap, it pays the gap between 0 and that max out of pocket, or it could be 0 and the deductible. The client picks the amount they want the insurance to pay. And the insurance, this is, again, Philadelphia American Life this is their gap policy. It pays 50% of outpatient expenses, or it'll pay 100% if they're put in the inpatient. So example, the employer says, all right, we're going to offer a $7,000 gap policy. Their employee goes to the ER and the bill is $3,000, but they go home. They're not admitted. The gap's going to pay $1,500, half the bill instantly wiped off. They get admitted. Their max out of pocket's $9,000, but this is a $7,000 gap policy. They only have to pay $2,000. And this is one that does coordinate with benefits. It looks at what you're not going to make money off of gap coverage. But I have quite a few groups that have this gap policy in conjunction with an HSA plan, because not everybody's got money laying around for those accidents, for those high claims. But this will pay 50% of a doctor. Now, is it worth paying it if your copay is $20 to get $10? It's up to the employee. But if they end up in the emergency room or the ER or the hospital, those things, the urgent care that, had a bunch of labs, those are the things that this is going to help protect the employees from their out-of-pocket expense. Critical illness. There's quite a few. Critical illness, of course, covers critical illnesses, which depending on the carrier, it could be cancer, heart attack, stroke. Those are the three main ones. I've seen one that actually said Legionnaire's disease. So different carriers will have different things under what a critical illness policy is, but what it does is pay a lump sum. So there's a diagnosis of whatever this critical illness is. Let's assume a heart attack, and after the insurance sees the doctor's paperwork, yes, this person had a heart attack, this is what we did, they give them a lump sum, $10,000, $30,000. It's their lump sum to do with what they want. If they want to go do some alternative testing, they want to go somewhere else, it's whatever. I know a story of a man who had diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and he had a very large, actually, a large critical illness policy, and he took his grandchildren to Disney World. He wanted them to have a really good memory of him. And so that's what he did. He just took that money and went to Disney World, and they had a fabulous time. So it's their money to do with what they want. If they're working, they can help pay the house bills, right? It's a very nice benefit to have, particularly if you're working. Examples: heart attack, stroke, organ transplant, usually see that. Usually it'll pay a partial for a not quite a heart attack, but a bypass, like, oh, you didn't quite have the heart attack, but they'll give them some money. But like I said, a lot of companies will have other things listed. I saw Legionnaire's disease. They can use it to go out of network, experimental treatments, especially with cancer. That's a big one. If they want to get some new treatment that the insurance isn't going to pay, well, this can help them pay. Had somebody, they wanted to go to the Mayo Clinic because I've heard the Mayo's good. Well, their insurance doesn't cover the Mayo. Critical illness policy would help pay for that. There's the trip to Disney World for the whole family. And the money can be used however the client wants. It's their lump sum. Usually, of course, they're going to help pay for their out-of-pocket expense. But if they have a $30,000 critical illness policy and their max out-of-pocket is $9,000, there's a lot left over. It can be used for hospital stays. It can be used for travel, the mileage back and forth. So, I again, I always list this as a critical illness. I always list that in my quotes. Life insurance. So I put life insurance with living benefits, but you can offer whole life, term life, life insurance should be offered every time. So life insurance with living benefits will give them benefits for when they're alive. If somebody is diagnosed with a terminal illness or cancer and they want to take some of those benefits out, they can. And they can use that. Of course, it decreases the benefit amount if there is a death, but they can then use that money to help pay for hospice or other treatments that's needed. So that's usually where it is. The difference is, traditional death benefit, boom, you die, here's your benefit. With living benefits, they can take some of that money out to pay medical bills, whatever they need. Typically, they have access to life insurance policies once that an event is triggered. So it could be terminal illness, disability. The exact cost, benefits, and all of that stuff is going to vary by carrier, but you can do this with benefits, or you can offer life insurance. That's just a traditional term. I offer term life insurance and whole life to every client, again, that will let me, any employer that will let me, especially if they have young people. I have the Humane Society is one of my group clients, and they are all, I swear, they're all under 30, right? And I'm like, you can get 100,000 of term life insurance for $2 a paycheck. Sign up now. And they never, for 30 years, they don't have to change the rate. Or get whole life. And I show them the rate and I go, and now this is yours for life. And when they leave, it goes with them. So offer life insurance. There's hospital indemnity insurance. Not very common with group, but it's something for maybe people that want to do a really platinum type of gold type of plan where they really want to have a lot of payments for their employers or employees. So a fixed benefit means it's going to cover the deductible if they go to the hospital, if they end up in the ER. It can be included daily benefit. So a hospital indemnity pays first dollar amount. You go to the hospital, the clinic, and the bill is 200 and the indemnity is like, we'll pay $100 for, specialty visits. They go to a chiropractor, it pays them $80 for that chiropractor. So a hospital indemnity plan is something to just keep in the back of your mind for somebody who wants to have a super rich policy. Often a hospital indemnity plan partnered with a bronze plan is a less expensive way of having a platinum plan, having a really rich plan. It doesn't necessarily work well with HSAs because it's not that it can't work, but an employee isn't necessarily understanding, how an HSA works. But if you think you've got a good group and you can explain HSAs and the employees will understand this is also a really nice benefit to layer with an HSA so they don't get hit so hard when they use the doctor. You never want to sell insurance that deters people from going to the doctor. And if they don't understand an HSA and if they don't have something like a gap or an accident or an indemnity plan, the employees won't go. And that's not helpful, right? They're going to wait till something major happens, but they're like, I don't know what I'm going to pay. This is a great way to have that be done in a way that they will go. They know, okay, somebody's going to pay me some money if I go to the doctor. Prescription plans. This is another one that I love to layer with an HSA. If there's somebody in a group that has an expensive medication, they're kind of the one getting screwed with an HSA. And maybe there's 3 people that have a high medication and then there's 30 that don't. Well, do you buy a rich policy for 3 people when 30 of them don't need it? This is a way that you can do that. You can say, again, here's an HSA or a bronze plan, and then let's layer it with a prescription plan. Because a prescription plan, it can work with short terms and indemnities on the individual side, but that gives them a copay when they go to the pharmacy instead of, I don't know, you're going to pay full price. And it's not a coupon. These are true prescription plans that you can get a group in. It's not a coupon, right? It's usually, I mean, it's predictable. They can look up what's the cost if I go to this pharmacy or this pharmacy. And I like layering that with HSAs, and it helps people not have to pay the full price. And with level funded, this is also a great thing that you can do, because a level funded plan, the employer, or a self-funded plan and level funded, the prescriptions can often raise those rates next year. Well, if they have a prescription plan and the employee is using the prescription plan to pay for their more expensive medical prescriptions, it doesn't show up on the level funded and self-funded. It goes here instead. So then their rates are typically low. With the rising cost of prescriptions right now and the just insane amount of options out there and all these new prescriptions coming out, the price of prescriptions is one of the biggest reasons that self-funded and level funded rates go up. It's not because of them actually using it to go to the doctor, it's because of prescriptions. So telehealth is another one. You can actually sell just a telehealth plan. It's telemedicine, again, works well with an HSA, but they can offer this to just their employees without a health insurance. Like, hey, we're going to give you guys telehealth. So no matter what your spouse's employer plan is or your marketplace plan, here we're going to give you something really cheap. So telemedicine, general term, covers all the ways a doctor can use technology to help their clients. Nowadays, especially because of COVID, they got really smart. There's a lot of video chats, emails, even text messaging and photos. So it's a great way for employees to interact with the doctor in a very quick way, right? The coverage is where they're at. They don't have to leave work to go to the clinic. They can, I'm taking my lunch break. I'm going out to the car and I'm going to go talk to the doctor. I've got this, rash when I was out in the woods. Turns out it's poison ivy. They don't have to miss work. They can usually just do a quick telehealth. It's very affordable. Telehealth is pretty inexpensive. So this is the list of cares that you can get with telemedicine. So labs, x-ray results, believe it or not, mental health treatments becoming a really common one for online, skin conditions, prescription management, simple things like ear infections and bladder infections, and some of those stuff that if somebody has had a sinus infection before, they know when they have another one. But now you got to go to urgent care and you got to spend that time just to basically have somebody write you a prescription. Telemedicine is perfect for that. So there's a lot of options with telemedicine that can kind of fill the gap of what the insurance doesn't have. So key points from just this, like I said, I'm not giving you every ancillary product that's out there. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, and it can make your head swim. There are options for every employer, whether they can afford health insurance or not. There are options. All of these options are going to protect the employees from out-of-pocket expense. I am always looking out for the employee. Yes, I'm looking out for the employer and his bottom line and what are the employer what's their goal? But if the employee can't afford to go to the doctor, it's not going to be good. Most people cannot afford an ER bill. They don't have $300-400 in their account. This is a way for employers to help their employees. And again, your clients don't know this exists. I mean, they kind of know, right? Employee benefits and stuff. But if you become the benefit specialist, you're not gonna lose your groups. They're gonna come to you. One of the things to do, come back here to get rid of that. One of the things to kind of remember and keep in mind when you're doing this is you're offering things that they don't know, and they don't know how they work. They don't know how they layer. If they're coming to you and they know how all of this works, that's probably a super large group. But if you're under 50, they don't have a dedicated benefit specialist group. Around 30 lives to 50, you're lucky if they've got a really good HR person. Under that, the owner is the HR person, and they don't understand any of this. If you are working with the large groups, all right, they may have a benefit specialist person, but you are also the one who's on the front line. You're the one who's learning all of the ancillary benefits that they can offer. There are different companies that I would recommend you get connected with. Aflac and Colonial Life are one of the ones that I would recommend that you get. The reason why is because then you don't have to be the expert in 14 different categories. You can bring in the expert and they can help you. Colonial Life does a contracting thing where, if you have the rep do everything, he's going to get some money and you're going to get some money. I love them. I particularly use Colonial Life a little bit more than Aflac. Prices are a little bit better, but Aflac's a well-known name. So if you can offer Aflac too, people, they know what that is, right? You all know what the duck is. I'll say disability and they'll be like, the duck that gives money? Yes, disability insurance. If you can bring them in, they work with small businesses and it's great because you could spend a lot of time with a 5-person group trying to get them all these different benefits. But, of the 5, 2 want dental, 5 want vision, somebody wants critical illness and someone else wants life insurance, and you're not going to get them good rates. It's one-offs here and there. With Colonial Life, everybody gets what they want. It's a cafeteria. I tell the employers, especially again, if they're probably under 20, I pretty much go to Colonial or Aflac. I'll say you as the employer get to offer all of these benefits. And you get to have the employee go in like a cafeteria and they get to pick what they want. And all of those benefits go with them when they leave. Because these are voluntary benefits and the way the Aflac and Colonial Life are set up, when the employee signs up, that's why when I get my 19-year-old to buy $100,000 whole life insurance policy for like $15 a month, I'm like, when you leave, you never have to pay more than $15. It's going to go with you. And if you can't afford it when you first lose this job, I bet your parents can help you pay that $15, right? So Colonial Life is great and Aflac because you can offer a variety of options for a very small group. I have talked a few small groups out of health insurance because that's not really what they needed. What they wanted was employee retention, employee benefits, and making their employees feel like they were valued. But they couldn't afford the health insurance. The employees were going to pay $100 on the marketplace, but when it was through the group, they were going to pay $300, and the group was going to pay $300. And I'm like, you don't really necessarily want to pay more than the government was willing to pay, right? It's not really a benefit. So then I say, I'm your dedicated health insurance person. I will get your individuals. You tell them when you get hired with us, you have a dedicated agent who's going to help you find the right plan for you instead of us forcing a plan onto you that may or may not even cover your network. But we offer dental, vision, life insurance, short-term disability, ancillary products. The way ancillary products work, and that's why I kind of like Colonial Life as well. The owners can say, we will pay for dental. We're just going to pay 100% for dental. But maybe not everybody wants dental. Maybe they've got great insurance through their spouse. So it's not a benefit. But what they could really use is life insurance. Well, with Colonial Life, when you have a bundled benefit, the employer can say, we're going to pay $20 a paycheck. You pick what you want. Now, if it's over $20, all right, that's going to come off your paycheck. If it's under $20, you're not paying anything. You can pay $50. You can pay up to $100 a month. The employer really has that flexibility to pay whatever they want towards those benefits. So those are the voluntary benefits. There is employer paid benefits such as long-term disability, life insurance. Those are employer paid that you don't get to opt out of. So my company pays for our employees long-term disability and life insurance. If you work for us, you get a $25,000 life insurance policy. It's only for the employee. It's not for the family, doesn't go with them, and they get long-term disability. That is not a voluntary. You work for me, you get it. You don't get to opt out. It just is what it is. And you need to make sure if you sell employer paid benefits like life insurance and long-term disability, that the employers and their HR person specifically knows they have to tell you every new employee that comes. Even if the employee waives everything else and doesn't want anything else, they can't waive that. If they waive that, because they don't even know what they can't waive it. But let's say somebody dies and then they never got the employer paid life insurance. And the spouse is like, wait a minute, I heard somebody else has it, they could sue that company. So if it's employer paid life, long-term disability, those they have to take. But then there's employer paid, they don't have to, like dental, where the employer is just saying, we'll cover 100%. So that's not the same as employer paid. Employer paid means it's mine, 100%, we're taking it. But if the employee is just paying 100% for a voluntary benefit, that just means the employee is paying for, or employer's paying for it, and the employee can take it or leave it. So questions. I know I kind of went through a lot in this 30 minutes or so, and want to see what questions do you have? Because the chat's really quiet, which I'm surprised. No questions?
Hi, Kris.
Hello.
This is Candy. Hi. Um, I think if I'm like everyone else, I'm just like, wow, I didn't know a lot of these things existed.
Right.
um, so, uh, I mean, like this telehealth thing for people who might be traveling or prescription drugs, where do you find things like this?
So a lot of my contracts are through North American. There are PRAM, which is the prescription one, PRAM. That is definitely through North American. They can get you that contract, and I like PRAM. It can work, and this can be on the individual world too. I've used PRAM with people that had ministry plans. They didn't want to leave it and get health insurance. So that's the pharmacy one. The telemedicine, there's actually quite a few out there. Morgan White's got one. The telemed often is in the health insurance, so I'd always look at that first because sometimes there is telemed already built in. And if there's not, then you can get this as an extra benefit. The product I talked about last time, so last month, if you haven't seen that, certainly go look at that. That has telemed built into it. Now it's for 10 or more employees in a group, but that one has a huge bundle of benefits. So it's got telemedicine and counseling, urgent care, specialist telemed for nothing. So there's a couple of varieties of having that telemed. And that's why if you didn't know all these options exist, I would start with Colonial Life and Aflac, because they'll do a contract with you so that you can start learning those options. When you start getting into larger companies, you're not going to necessarily want to use Colonial Life because you can get better rates with a surety on disability and maybe, Manhattan on critical illness or whatever. So you might want to shop out once you start getting into the larger companies. But when it's small, you can't beat Aflac and Colonial Life.
One last question.
Sure.
If there is, like, say you wind up doing an RX plan and you've got an employee who's got a pre-existing condition that's a pretty uh like I'm just using an example is uh like MS or something. Can the person still buy something like that, or is it something that they need to they'll be knocked out for that? Like, is there underwriting?
So there is some underwriting depending on the company and depending on how much the benefit is. So short-term disability is a great one, right? If you can get guaranteed enrollment into a short term, but they're not going to cover any pre-existing for that first year. So you can get it, somebody who has, let's say, MS or Parkinson's or something like that, they can get that short-term disability, but it's not going to cover them for at least a year. And so every carrier, just like in the individual world, every carrier is going to have slight variations of that. The Philadelphia Gap policy, that one depends on the size of the employer. If it's a small employee, they won't have guaranteed enrollment. So you still have to pass the underwriting questions. You can't have a chronic illness happening, heart attack in the last 3 years, cancer in the last 5. It won't let you pass that. But there's a few, if it doesn't ask for some things, and if you can pass the underwriting, you can get it, but you're going to have to wait a year before you can submit those claims. So most of these are guaranteed issue, but you still have to wait a year to get that. Anybody
I
else?
think that's a really good nuance. So thank you.
Yes, sure. Happy to help with that. Anyone else? I mean,
Yeah, hi Chris. I have a couple of questions here. I think I
sure.
might have missed the part where you talked about whole life. Did you say companies could have, or an employer could offer, yeah, employees something like a whole life policy as part of a group coverage?
Yep, absolutely. And Colonial Life and Aflac and Assurity, they will have a set amount where it's guaranteed. And each
Mhm.
one's different, but let's just say they're like, you can have a guaranteed $30,000 whole life policy. Now
Okay.
above that, they're gonna start saying simplified underwriting. Hey, I want 100,000. Well, now it's not gonna be simplified. Now it's gonna be more detailed. But
Okay.
yes, so you can offer that as through the group. And then when they leave, that whole life goes with them.
Okay. Another question I have is when it comes to group life insurance, is this only applicable to an employer? Can a group of people, um, are there any circumstances where it could be an organization, maybe some kind of a community organization that could apply for something like this or no?
It's like a nonprofit organization that's got 3 nonprofits that are kind of connected to it. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah.
There, you can on some, most of the time, just like health, it's not really, it has to come from a paycheck unless it's something that you're buying 100% for like 1099s. It can happen, but that's going to be, you're going to have to find individual carriers that are okay with that. Um, and it's usually, I mean, if it's not coming off a paycheck, because there isn't a paycheck, it's 100% you join this committee and we'll help you, we'll offer whole life. But I would contact Colonial, contact Aflac, and see what they say.
Okay. All
So
right.
Steve,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Steve said, is the contract for group product a different contract from the individual plan? For example, a surety's contract. With the surety, I believe it was the same one, but typically assume it's different. Now, with Philadelphia American Life, it wasn't. I just went to them one day and went, I have a group. Is there something I can do? And they're like, no, here's what you have to do. You know, it's a different group that I'm contacting. So you can absolutely find those ones. It's different than group health, right? Group health is almost always different than the individual health, and it's very different than the Medicare health. But the ancillaries, if you're selling them as an individual, you're usually able to sell them as a group. So just reach out to the carriers that you're already contracted with and say, hey, I want to get a quote for a group. What do I need? And they'll walk you through it. Melissa, you said maybe take your QSERA and ICRA ACA class. Yes, you certainly can. I do have a discount. It's a 50% off discount code. That is 2024 is my year, capital I, capital M, capital Y, because I think everybody that's doing this is your year. I can put that in the chat where my website is, so that, and the code in there, so anyone else can have that. Any other, I know there's 2 tabs, question and answers in chat, so. Melissa, Aflac contract through you or North American? So not through me. I don't know if North American has a contract with Aflac and Colonial. Often those, you do it, you're direct. So I can send you contacts. I know I have a great relationship with my Colonial Life guy. His name is Maynard. That man will give you the shirt off your back. But you can see if North American has that contract. Otherwise, it's a direct contract. I know North American has a surety. That one is where I got mine. Life Secure, Manhattan, Palick, all of those can go through North American. And I am getting the link for my class to stick that in the chat. You think I'd have it memorized by now? All right, putting this in the chat. This is the class that I have. Maybe chat is only available during the meeting, but it won't let me put the chat in. Well, that's funny. I'm the moderator, it won't let me chat. Anyone else though? I'll see if Priscilla, if I can give it to her. Anyone else have any?
Hello.
Hey, Priscilla.
Did you already go over Stabinas?
Still,
Let's see. She asked, is the contract for the group product a different contract from individual plan contract? For example, a
I
sureties
answered
contract.
that one. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
answered that one.
Perfect.
I just can't put it in the chat, the link to just to my website.
Oh, of course. Let me pull that up and I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. Anybody else have a question, answer?
I have one last question.
Sure,
I
Candy.
don't know if you've already answered this because I'm sort of new to all of this. What is the smallest group that these, a business can have to where you're
Sure.
able to help them? So can it be like an LLC or I don't know what's the definitions there?
All right, so and you can go down to 2 lives as long as it's not a husband and wife when you're doing health insurance, unless you want to do shop, which is a whole different ballgame. Shop is, you can through the marketplace do a group of 1, but typically 2. So 2 lives or less, or 2 lives or more, not a husband and wife. So it could be a husband and wife and then like their 27-year-old child. Sure, they can be related that way, but it can't be a husband and wife, a group of 2. And with the ancillary, it's typically 3. With Colonial Life, it's 3. Aflac says 5. There is a reason why I like Colonial a little better than Aflac, besides being inexpensive. They can do a little bit more. Aflac's got a higher count where like you have to have 5 people in the plan. And Colonial Life says we only need 1 person. I actually just signed up a 3-person life with Colonial Life and only 1 person took a product, which was totally acceptable. So they just have to have 3 people. So Priscilla put in the chat the link to my YouTube channel, which is all about ACA, my Fresh Academy at .Fresh Learn. That one is, again, mostly individual, but the QSERA and ICRA, how that kind of works. And then I do have a 50% off coupon. Again, it's 2024 is capital I, my capital M year, all one word. 2024 is my year. And that will give you 50% off any individual course, or I have them kind of bundled as well. So Micah said, I'm just getting started with group. Where do I find training to get my foot on the floor? That's partly why I'm doing these. I know it's only once a month. We're gonna, North American's actually hiring somebody to start doing these on a weekly basis. They're looking into that to get that specialized. There's honestly one of the best ways to get it and training is from the carriers themselves. Now, they're going to tell you how awesome their product is, but it will give you an idea of how it works. There is lots of products out there. I mean, every health carrier just about is offering group, So if you get a group of 3 people, go, hey, Anthem, hey, United, get as many quotes as you can. Hey, Colonial Life, I got this group of 3. Can you help me walk through this? North American is, like I said, they're getting somebody, they had someone last year and she was fabulous, Delphine. And they're getting a new person who will be doing that will be able to help, hey, I got a group of 7. What do I do? Right. And walk you through it. I am happy to help if you've got something like right now, or somebody wants some quotes to, hey, I'll help you walk, I'll walk you through this. Group can seem scary, partly because you're like, wow, this is a different world, but it really isn't. It's the individual world just on mass. There are some things you have to be aware of, fiduciary responsibilities that the employer needs to do. In fact, that's what we're going to be talking about next time is fiduciary responsibilities for group health. That is new. You typically think of fiduciary with financial 401ks and IRAs and simple IRAs and stuff. It is in the group world as well. So I'm going to give you guys some resources to search for yourself and resources to give to your groups. I have an awesome benefit for Cobra that I just found that that'll be part of the fiduciary, and it costs $1 per member. Like, it's a buck. So I, as the agent, I'm actually going to pay for that to give that as a benefit to my employers, because it also just takes a lot off my plate. I don't have to worry about Cobra. They'll be doing it the way they're supposed to be. So Melissa, 2024 is my year. Yes, that's exactly how it goes.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm gonna subscribe to your channel. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then Melissa, do they have to have a tax ID to be a small business, or maybe their social security if they're self-funded employed? No, because then they're not actually a business. And that usually means it's just them. So they really do need to they have to have a tax ID. In fact, I can even show you for simple, the ancillary products. I can even tell you, I get this from my North America or my Colonial Life guy. It's a great, I just send this out to my people when they're signing up. And this is exactly what they need to have. They need to have a full name, right? What's their name on their EIN, the decision maker's email, the EIN, how many full-time employees, their physical address, person in charge of billing, and the effective date. And then how often are they paid? Are they a bi-weekly paycheck? Is it a bi-monthly? Is it a weekly? Because that often they'll run quotes. The ancillaries, I've noticed, they'll tend to run the quote based on paycheck. So they'll say there's 26 withdrawals. And so you'll think, oh, that's really cheap. It's only $25. Well, it's $25 per paycheck. This is things that you'll see. So those are the things you need for the ancillary. That's kind of it. They're not even asking for the most recent quarterly tax payroll thing, which is what you have to have for health insurance. So it's pretty simple. That's kind of all they need, but you do have to have an EIN. And as Priscilla put in there, if you need help contracting the agent support team, they are happy to help with that. She just put the Calendly link on there in the chat to talk one-to-one with one of the contracting guys or gals. They're really good. And this is partly why I like North American, right? Because I said to Andy, I want group to be a value add that North American offers, because I believe in group and I know he does too. And so they're really trying to help. So Stavina said, just to confirm, none of the life plans are underwritten. It depends on how much. So Colonial Life has I can't remember what it is. I think it's 30,000, that there's no health questions. And then the next level up, it's simple underwriting. So it's height and weight, which is usually where somebody's going to get knocked out. And are you a insulin diabetic, stuff like that. But there is a level that's guaranteed. And that's why it's beautiful. So maybe they want $100,000. Well, you're not going to get $100,000 if you are 5'2", 400 pounds and have cancer, but I can get you 30. And term life too. There will be a limit that's guaranteed. You have a guaranteed term life up to a certain dollar amount. That's the other reason why I absolutely love selling these ancillaries with Colonial with small companies. You can give a small company that's got 5 employees. I tell them you can offer just as many benefits as the $5,000 employee company down the road. Because you can offer dental, vision, life insurance, disability insurance, short-term disability, Unum, which is, I use Unum through Colonial Life. They do long-term disability as well. There's employer-paid life insurance. That one's great. Employer-paid life insurance, guaranteed issue, no health questions at all, because you only have the life insurance while you're working. So there are options. And if you want to, reach out to North American, book it with the calendar, the Calendly thing. If you're like, hey, I've heard there's pet insurance. There is pet insurance. I heard Fresh Bennies. That's a really great one. That's a bundle. So if your employer can't afford much, well, hey, get Fresh Bennies. That one comes with pet discounts. It comes with protection on if your name is stolen, identity theft. It helps you with some lawyers. I mean, there are things that you can offer in a bundle that is going to save your employees money and help your employer offer benefits. there is something for everybody. Nobody can say I can't afford it because they don't even have to pay for it. So they can't say they can't afford it. Any other questions? All right, if that's it, I'll give you 15 minutes back to get ready for your 11 o'clock appointment and mine 11. And I will talk to you in a month. And like I said, we're going to talk about the fiduciary, the COBRA, things that employers need to know that they're not going to know, but this is going to make you the expert. In fact, this might even help you get groups that maybe they already have a broker. And you can say, all right, I just wanted to make sure you've got your COBRA and your fiduciary stuff is everything's up to alignment to protect you from, potential lawsuits. And they're going to go, wait, my broker hasn't told me anything about any of this. So yeah, knowledge is power. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful June. I will talk to you in July. Reach out to North American if you have questions.